It started as an ordinary day, or at least as ordinary as any day in my peculiar life could be. My parents had left for a weekend getaway, a rare occurrence that left me alone in the house for 2 whole days. At 24, living with your parents wasn't the most glamorous situation, but it allowed me the space and time to explore the side of me I kept hidden from the world, the one that loved the softness of silk, the delicate clink of bracelets, and the transformation of makeup brushes turning my face into a canvas of femininity. The moment their car disappeared down the street, my heart raced with anticipation. I locked the door and made my way to my room, pulling out the hidden trunk beneath my bed. The lid creaked open, revealing my secret collection of clothes, shoes, and makeup, things I had meticulously gathered over the years. Dresses of vibrant colors, skirts that flared just the way I loved, and heels that gave me a whole new perspective on the world waited for me. The first few hours passed in blissful solitude. I chose a flowing lavender dress and paired it with silver heels. Standing in front of the mirror, I felt like a different person, or maybe more like my true self. I let my hair down, styled it, and spent extra time perfecting my makeup. The person staring back at me was someone I recognized deeply, even if no one else did. After a while, I wandered around the house, enjoying the freedom of moving through the space as her, as my feminine self. I danced in the kitchen, twirling to a song only I could hear. I posed dramatically by the windows, pretending I was in a fashion magazine. Life felt perfect. And then I found the door. It wasn't a door I'd ever noticed before. It was in the basement, tucked behind some old boxes. The edges were worn, and the paint was chipped, as if it had been there for decades. Curiosity sparked inside me. I hadn't intended to explore anything beyond my own femininity that day, but this door seemed to call to me. The handle was cold and rusted, but it turned with surprising ease. Beyond the door was a tunnel, dimly lit by flickering bulbs strung along the ceiling. A draft carried the faint scent of earth and something else, something floral and faintly sweet, like jasmine. I hesitated for only a moment before stepping inside. My heels clacked softly against the stone floor, the sound echoing faintly in the narrow space. As I walked, the world outside seemed to fade away. The tunnel wasn't long, but each step made me feel as though I were traveling farther from reality. The end of the tunnel opened into a room that stole my breath. It was like stepping into another world entirely. The space was vast, with high ceilings draped in flowing silks of every color imaginable. Mirrors lined the walls, reflecting the soft glow of chandeliers that seemed to float midair. Mannequins dressed in exquisite gowns stood in a circle, their glass eyes gazing at me as if they could see straight into my soul. And then I saw her. She was seated at a vanity, her back to me, but her reflection in the mirror revealed a face so beautiful it seemed otherworldly. Her features were delicate, her makeup flawless, and her hair cascaded in perfect waves. She turned slowly, her eyes meeting mine. "Welcome," she said, her voice smooth and inviting. "I've been waiting for you." "For me?" I managed to stammer, my mind struggling to process the surreal scene. She nodded and rose gracefully, her long gown flowing like liquid gold. "Everyone finds this place eventually," she said, "but only when they're ready." "Ready for what?" "To embrace what you've been hiding." She gestured to the room around us. "This is a sanctuary, a place where you can be everything you've ever dreamed of being." Her words sent a shiver down my spine. I wanted to ask how she knew, but deep down I understood. This place, this woman, it was as if they had been plucked from my fantasies. She walked to a wardrobe and opened it, revealing racks upon racks of clothes more stunning than anything I could have imagined. She pulled out a shimmering gown and held it up to me. "Try this," she said with a smile. I hesitated, but her warmth was infectious. I slipped out of my lavender dress and into the gown she offered. It fit perfectly, hugging my figure in all the right places. The fabric felt like a second skin, and the way it sparkled under the chandelier lights made me feel like royalty. As I turned to admire myself in one of the mirrors, something shifted. My reflection stared back at me, but it was no longer the shy, uncertain person I had seen before. This version of me was confident, radiant, and unapologetically feminine. "You see it now, don't you?" she said, standing behind me. "The person you've always been." I nodded, tears welling in my eyes. "But how? How is this possible?" "This place reveals the truth," she said simply. "It's not about the clothes or the makeup. It's about what's inside you. Here, you're free to let it shine." For hours, maybe days, I couldn't tell, I stayed in that magical room. I tried on outfits that made me feel powerful, delicate, bold, and beautiful. Each time I looked in the mirror, I saw a new version of myself, and yet they all felt undeniably me. The woman, who never told me her name, guided me gently but firmly. She taught me how to walk with grace, how to speak with confidence, and how to carry myself with pride. She never judged, never questioned. She simply supported and celebrated. Eventually, though, I knew I had to leave. As much as I wanted to stay in that perfect sanctuary forever, a part of me understood that its purpose wasn't to replace my life, but to prepare me for it. When I stepped back into the tunnel, I felt different, stronger, more complete. The lavender dress I had worn earlier now felt like armor, a reminder of the journey I had taken. When I emerged back into the basement, the world seemed brighter. The air felt lighter. I spent the rest of the weekend reveling in my femininity, but this time, there was no hesitation, no fear. I danced and twirled, knowing that the person I saw in the mirror was real. That tunnel, that room, it became my secret, my refuge. I visited it whenever I felt doubt creeping in, and each time, I returned with a little more courage. Eventually, I found the strength to share my true self with the people I loved. It wasn't always easy, but I knew who I was, and that made all the difference. The magical room may have been hidden away, but its lessons stayed with me. It taught me that femininity isn't about appearances. It's about authenticity, about embracing every part of yourself without shame or fear. And every time I see a mirror, I remember, the person staring back at me is extraordinary. The days that followed felt like an awakening. That sanctuary and the woman within it were not figments of my imagination. They had to be real. The strength I had gained from my time there didn't fade, as I feared it might. Instead, it grew, like a seed planted deep in my heart, pushing me to embrace the truths I had hidden for so long. When my parents returned, I was careful to tuck away the lavender dress and the heels. The trunk slid back under my bed, safely out of sight. But something about the act felt different now. It wasn't fear that made me hide my things. It was patience. I wasn't yet ready to reveal myself fully to the world, but I knew the day would come. Over the next few weeks, my mind was consumed by thoughts of the tunnel and the sanctuary. I tried to focus on work, on my mundane daily routines, but the pull to return was impossible to ignore. I needed to understand more. Who was the woman who had been waiting for me? How did that place even exist? And why had it chosen me? One evening, after the house was quiet and my parents were asleep, I slipped into the basement. My heart raced as I pushed aside the boxes, revealing the door. It looked just as it had before, worn, unassuming, and utterly magical. I turned the handle, and the familiar draft of cool, jasmine-scented air washed over me. The tunnel was just as I remembered it, the flickering bulbs casting soft, golden light on the stone walls. As I stepped inside, a sense of calm enveloped me, as though the tunnel itself recognized me and welcomed me back. The clack of my low-heeled boots echoed faintly as I walked toward the sanctuary. When I stepped through the final archway, the sight before me was both familiar and new. The room was just as grand as before, but the arrangement had changed. The mannequins were dressed in new outfits, gowns with intricate beadwork, tailored suits that radiated power, and cocktail dresses that begged to be worn for an evening of adventure. The mirrors seemed to shimmer with a life of their own, their surfaces glowing faintly. But the woman was not there. "Hello," I called softly, my voice reverberating in the vast space. Only silence answered. I hesitated, unsure of what to do. Then, as if guided by an unseen force, I walked toward the wardrobe she had opened for me last time. My fingers grazed the smooth wood, and when I pulled the door open, I found not only the racks of clothes but also a note pinned to one of the hangers. The note was written in elegant cursive. "The sanctuary belongs to you now. You are ready. Trust yourself." My breath caught in my throat. Ready? Ready for what? I wanted to call out for her, to ask her what she meant, but deep down, I knew the answer. She had given me the tools to embrace who I was. Now it was up to me to use them. I spent hours in the sanctuary that night. I tried on outfits that pushed the boundaries of my comfort zone, clothing that made me feel bold, rebellious, even daring. I experimented with makeup techniques I had never dared to try before, and I practiced walking in stilettos, so high they felt like stilts. Each moment in that room was a revelation, peeling back layers of doubt and fear until all that remained was joy. When I finally left the sanctuary, the sun was rising. I emerged from the basement feeling lighter than air, as though I had shed an invisible weight I hadn't even realized I was carrying. Over the weeks that followed, I began to notice changes in myself. They were small at first: a straighter posture, a newfound ease in my movements, a quiet confidence in the way I spoke. My wardrobe, once a monotony of neutral tones and ill-fitting jeans, began to expand. I started incorporating subtle feminine touches into my everyday attire: a pair of earrings, a soft scarf, a blouse with a hint of lace. At first, no one seemed to notice. But then, the questions began. "New look," my coworker Lisa asked one morning, eyeing my carefully painted nails. Her tone was curious, not judgmental, but my heart still raced. "Something like that," I said with a nervous smile, quickly hiding my hands. But the questions didn't stop. My mother commented on the scented lotion I started using. My father raised an eyebrow at the tailored pants that hugged my figure a little more than usual. Each comment felt like a test, a challenge to my resolve. It wasn't until the day of my cousin Amanda's engagement party that everything came to a head. The event was semi-formal, and I had spent hours agonizing over what to wear. The sanctuary had given me confidence, but stepping out in front of family was an entirely different beast. In the end, I chose a sleek, androgynous outfit: black slacks, a fitted blazer, and a silky blouse in a soft blush tone. I added a touch of makeup, just enough to enhance my features, and a pair of low heels. When I walked into the venue, heads turned. My heart pounded as I saw my family's eyes flicker over my outfit, their expressions ranging from confusion to curiosity. Amanda was the first to approach me. "You look amazing," she said, a genuine smile lighting up her face. "I love the blazers." Her warmth was a balm to my nerves. "Thank you," I said, feeling a flicker of hope. The evening wasn't without its challenges. There were whispers and lingering glances, and a pointed comment from my uncle about unusual fashion choices. But for every awkward moment, there was a kind word, a smile, or a compliment that reminded me I wasn't alone. That night, when I returned home, I went straight to the basement. The sanctuary had become my safe haven, a place where I could process the world and prepare myself for the next step. But as I opened the door to the tunnel, I was met with an unexpected sight. The bulbs that lined the ceiling were dimmer than before, their light flickering weakly. The air was heavy, the scent of jasmine faint but lingering. I walked cautiously, my heels clicking against a stone, until I reached the sanctuary. It was empty. The gowns, the mirrors, the mannequins, everything was gone. The room was bare, its walls a stark white. Panic gripped me as I searched for any sign of the magic that had once filled the space. But there was nothing. I sank to the floor, my mind racing. Had I done something wrong? Had I failed some unspoken test? As I sat there, the faint echo of her voice returned to me. "The sanctuary belongs to you now." I realized then that the sanctuary hadn't disappeared. It was within me now, in every step I took, every choice I made, every moment I embraced who I was. The sanctuary wasn't a place, it was a state of being, a reminder that I had the strength to create my own magic. In the months that followed, I began to live more openly, as my authentic self. It wasn't always easy, and there were times when the weight of judgment and misunderstanding felt crushing. But I never forgot the lessons of the sanctuary or the woman who had helped me discover them. I started sharing my journey online, connecting with others who had felt the same yearning to embrace their truth. My story resonated with people around the world, and in their messages, I found a sense of community I had never known before. The sanctuary may have disappeared, but its impact was permanent. It had shown me that femininity wasn't something I needed to hide or justify. It was a part of me, as natural and essential as my own heartbeat. And now, when I stand in front of a mirror, I no longer see the shy, uncertain person I once was. I see strength, beauty, and a future filled with endless possibilities. Thank you so much for watching till now. It means the world to have you here. This community is all about empowering each other and celebrating the incredible journeys of everyone on their path to living authentically. If you're ever feeling lost or alone, remember you have a whole family here for you. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and let's keep inspiring each other, sending you all the love and strength in the world. Until next time, live your life by your rules.